Hi, everybody, and welcome to November's Aging Well. If you are like me, this year has just gone by so quickly. And I have to share something with you because I feel like we've all become family. Um, Talk about how life is trying to get back to normal. My husband and I went out to Colorado this weekend. Our oldest son got married, and it was 78 degrees in the mountains outside of Denver. So it was a lot colder here in Winston than it was up in those mountains. But it just gave us both a glimmer that life can be slowly getting back to normal so that we can start enjoying each other. And, we were talking about what's the future of aging well moving forward. And I've heard from so many people how much so many of you appreciate the virtual format that we're in right now. In fact, I have to give a shout out to my friends at Brookridge Retirement, because I just found out last week that they get together as a group and watch this together on a large screen TV. So we're finding our way. And I don't think we're ever going to let go of this virtual format because we're able to reach so many people in geographically all over the place, all over the country. People are now joining us for this, but I do miss seeing y'all in person. So you have my word, as soon as it's safe, as soon as it's practical, we're going to look at doing some type of hybrid. And maybe we do the in-person events quarterly instead of every month, and just hang in there and do these every month. But you have my word that we are not going anywhere. And our team is not going anywhere because they are phenomenal. I always have to thank them. Tom Roth, Courtney Hayes, Audrey Belfaro, and Abby Archer. Without this team, there is no way that we could be doing this every month. So as always, thank you so much. And, I'm just the talking head in the camera. They do all the real work. So anyway, but let's have some fun and get started. We have got a great program for you tonight. And our first segment, as always, is going to be our cooking segment. And Chef Michael Spencer at Rooster's Noble Grill is going to be doing the demo tonight. And you know what's so much fun is when I reach out to these chefs, and now they're calling me sometimes. But whenever we talk about this, I don't give them any parameters. I tell them that it has to be something that can be achievable at home, and what would be something practical but still delicious, and they run with it. And so when I got over there to record the segment, he goes, I think we need to do something savory now that we're getting closer to winter anyway. And so anyway, I hope you're going to enjoy this. It is a delicious recipe for flank steak and the sides. And he was really nice because he said, I'm going to give you the recipes for both of the sauces, but especially for the pesto, you can probably pick up a good one in the grocery store that you don't have to make. And I thought that was thoughtful of him. And just so y'all are aware, if you missed it in the recipe, this is a serving for one, which I like. And I've heard from y'all that some of you are one and two people living in a home. And so rather than make a meal for 4 or 5 people, it's nice that you can always bump up the recipe instead of having to take it down. So Chef Michael was delightful and really excited. In fact, I'm going to give you one more promo. He wants to do a supplemental Aging Well that I'm going to record on the 18th of November about how to safely store and prepare good things to do with your Thanksgiving leftovers. So you are probably going to get just a bonus link to another file from us. But I thought how wonderful that he really got into what we're doing. And so anyway, without further ado from me, Chef Michael, show us how it's done.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you for being here today. And it's an honor to be here with Aging Well and preparing this local dish of all local goods here at Roosters and Noble Grill in Winston. Today we have local sweet potatoes from Cedar House Farms in Moxville. We have broccolini, it's purple, and it's from Scattered Seed Farms. And we have flank steak, which is from Joyce Farms. And I'll be seasoning all these up, and the sweet potatoes have been pre-roasted. The broccolini we will grill, and the flank steak we will grill, and then we will plate it. Our sauces for the meat today will be a mustard aioli and pesto. So let's get started. Salt and pepper. Then we'll season our broccolini. Salt and pepper also. And salt and pepper is always to taste. We season here for the general public. And now we can start to cook. Here we have the broccolini, and it'll actually take longer to cook than the meat will. So we're going to go ahead and start that now. And put it in a relatively high heat area of your grill. And we'll be rotating that shortly. And then your pre-roasted sweet potatoes can go around to the grill to get warmed up. And the meat will go on in about a minute or so. As you're grilling, always remember to never let it set too long in one place because you'll get a char on it. Some folks like the char, some folks don't. Okay. If you don't have a grill, you can use a cast iron pan in your oven at a high temperature. You can also use a saute pan on top of the stove at a high temperature. But grilling vegetables at high heat is a better way to go because you get a more robust flavor and less damage of cells, which increases the health benefits to yourself. And a little note about your meat. If you let it come to room temperature before you cook it, it will cook a lot nicer. And this piece of meat can be done in a cast iron pan on the stovetop quite easily. And it only takes about 6 to 7 minutes to cook and then about 5 minutes to rest. And resting is the most important part of all this. And you can see that we're starting to get some good color on our broccolini. It's cooking up nicely. It won't be too long before it'll be ready. All this food can be found here in Winston, North Carolina. The vegetables that I purchased at the Cobblestone Market near Old Salem, which that's every Saturday from 9 to 11, and they have wonderful, wonderful goods. It's a good way to get out and be active, especially on a Saturday morning. And here I'm brushing this with a little bit of butter. Here is the sweet potatoes and the steak that we grilled, and the broccolini, and now we are going to plate this dish. If you take your broccolini once it's grilled and slice it in half, then slice it acrossways, it makes for a nicer presentation. Plate it. And it's always beneficial when you see your steak, the grains that run this way, when you cut it, you want to cut it across the other way. We call that in the industry cutting against the grain. Now we'll sauce our pesto on our broccolini. And then our mustard aioli on our steak. And there you have it, a nice fall plate. This is something that you're fully capable of cooking at home, but of course, if you don't have time or you can't, please come see us here at Roosters and Noble Grill in Winston.
You know, I don't know about y'all, but one thing that I notice when we are doing these is how meticulous the chefs are as they are just cleaning any type of little dribble that may be on the plate. And they all do that. And it's given me a much deeper appreciation of the work that goes into preparing these delicious meals. So thank you, Chef Michael. It was wonderful. And I hope this is something that we can all maybe give our hand at making, and I'll want to hear back from y'all if you were able to do it and how it turned out. Now, I want to ask you something. How many of you have ever been nose to nose with an alpaca? Well, I can tell you, but until a week or so ago, I had not. But I had heard from some of my friends around town. They kept asking me, they said, Deb, for Aging Well, you've got to go out to this alpaca farm. And I thought, well, why not? Why not? Let's do another virtual road trip. And I will tell you this, the very best part of the trip was getting to meet the brand new baby named Humphrey. So anyway, Brianna is the ranch manager, and she is about to give us a tour of an alpaca farm. And I think we're all going to learn something that we never knew about alpacas. And this place is very close. It's about 25 minutes away from downtown Winston. So I hope you enjoy.
Thanks, Deb. Welcome to Purple Alpaca Farms. We're so happy to be part of Aging Well. Let's go get started. So you're standing on a family-owned farm on 33 acres. We began doing our farm tours in November of last year, so we've been open about a year functioning as a functioning farm. Alpacas are in the camelid family, which means that they do spit. They are a little bit different from the other members of the camelid family because, like, camels come from a different geographic area. They were bred more for pack animals to go long distances. Llamas are also in the camelid family, and they were bred as more pack animals and protection animals. Alpacas are quite different. They come from Peru, and they were bred as for their fiber for the wealthy and elite. Alpaca fiber is really interesting. It is waterproof, fireproof. It varies from sheep's wool in that it's hypoallergenic. If you ever know anybody that has a wool allergy, it's usually the lanolin in the wool that causes the allergy. And alpacas don't produce that. It takes a lot of water to clean sheep's wool once they're sheared based on the lanolin in it, whereas alpacas, since they don't have that, it uses a lot less water and it's more environmentally sustainable to clean their fleece once you shear them. Alpacas, unlike other livestock animals, have soft nails on their feet, which means that when they're grazing in the pasture and walking around, they're not tearing up the ground. They also, when they graze, they nibble the tops of the grass. So they don't pull it up by the root like other grazing animals do, which means you have to reseed your pasture a lot less often. Now, this was our pregnant and nursing pen. We do have a few pregnant alpacas. We also have a baby alpaca that was just born about 3 weeks ago. And they're very interesting with that as well. When our first baby was born, he's in our boy pasture. He was born on December 21st, which was a very cold day. But because they come from the Andes Mountains in Peru, they have developed some traits relating to that, where they will give birth between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m., the warmest part of the day, so that the babies are warmer and they have a better chance for survival. Sometimes if they're born after that hours, there could be something wrong with the baby or the mother. Siegfried, which is our first baby born here, he was born right during that time. Everything went smooth. All the female alpacas surrounded his mom and him and cleaned him off and helped her take care of him. And even as he was growing, sometimes to give the mom a break, he would have his auntie alpacas that he would stay with that would watch him so his mom could take a break from him. They really are fascinating in their maternal instincts and how they congregate like a family around the babies. Our second baby born was just born 3 weeks ago. His name is Humphrey. He was a little bit different. He was born at 8:50 in the morning. His mom went into labor the night before. We waited up till about 2 a.m. with our kit ready just in case there were issues, because generally you do not need to assist in alpaca births. After about 2 in the morning and he didn't come, we ended up calling it a night because we had to be up and at him at 8 in the morning. So we went home and I came back the next morning and I was making coffees in the cafe for guests, and I see one of the owners run by and I'm like, oh, what's wrong? Baby on the ground, baby on the ground. And she had had the baby in the middle of this pasture over there, and all the females surrounded the mom and the baby, and we got the baby warmed up, and he's done very well. So he was born outside of those hours, but he is a fantastic baby, and he's super adorable. Alpacas are pregnant for 11 and a half months. I know we're all glad we're not alpacas. And so I noticed the mother of the newest baby, she had him on a Saturday morning. I noticed about Thursday, I could just look at her and tell that she was going to have him in the next couple of days, maybe from one mother to another. I could just sense it. She just had that look on her face. So, and sure enough, she did have him within 2 days. She is much happier now. She's very sweet and friendly. So that's about our baby alpacas. We are doing a breeding program to have more, and we do, like I said, we do have a few more that are expecting. We have another one that is due in November or December that we're very excited about, and possibly another one in the next couple of months as well. But they stopped importing them from Peru about 10 years ago, so all the alpacas that are in the United States are going to be what's here. So that is one of the reasons we do our breeding program, is because we want to breed for a good fiber and good personality with the alpacas. So yeah, if you follow me, we're gonna go on to the next pasture and meet the girls. I want you to meet the girls. I'm gonna get them to come over here. Come on, ladies. Yes, come on. Good job. Here we go. Come on, Evie. Evie right here is baby Siegfried's mom. This one right here. And then this one is Pixie. She's very friendly. She'll lay down and let guests pet her all over. This one right here is Pearl. Evie, Vixie, be nice. Okay, Pearl doesn't want any. This one right here, the brown one, is Alice. She's the alpha amongst the girls. And this one eating out my bucket is Darla. She's the mom of the baby we just had born. And she's very sweet and very happy to not be expecting any more. The baby's right over here. He's kind of in between these two girls right here, hiding away because they're surrounding me. And we can just do a little sachet and they'll move along. Okay, ladies, back up. Here you go, Pearl. Our little brown one over here is Dixie. She's one of our sweetest girls that we have. She's very tolerant of even being pet on the head, whereas I said most of them don't like that. She's another one that will lay down and let you pet her all over. This one back here is Bella. She has a little heart mark on her nose. She's due in November or December. And she likes to take care of baby Humphrey a lot. She is like his auntie. And she will watch over him so his mom can take a break. Darla, be nice, sweetie. You can't have all the food. And kisses? Oh, Humphrey came over. He won't eat the grain yet because he's still nursing. That's more for the big girls. I think at some point in the next 6 months he'll start rationing onto grains. And then about a year we'll end up weaning him off and moving him in with the boys. But for now he just hangs out with all the ladies and nurses when he's hungry and follows them around and sometimes gets zoomies and runs around as fast as he can in the pasture. Here you go, Pearl. I was trying to give you some. Hey, little guy. Here you go, Pixie. So they live in unison with the chickens. If you can see, we have a lot of chickens in this pasture. They help keep control of the pests because that's their main diet. So any kind of bugs and creepy crawlies, the chickens take care of that. I like to say everything eats chicken and chicken eats everything. They would literally eat anything. Whereas the alpacas really only like grain and alfalfa and hay. We've tried to give ours some fruit and little treats, but they're not really into it. They would much rather have this grain than anything else. I think Humphrey thinks he wants some, but he's not going to eat any. He's going to smell it though. Yeah, in the wild they would eat grass and stuff like that. They would just graze on whatever green they could find. We see them eating off the trees, the leaves and stuff like that a lot. Just whatever they're in the mood for, but they are strictly herbivores. They do not eat any meat. I almost called them vegans. I mean, technically they are. So, but we feed them a grain, and we also feed them sometimes beet pulp or extra alfalfa, and then the hay as well. Our girls get a little extra calories because we do have the breeding program going on, and we want them to stay as healthy as possible. We have ages ranging in this pasture from Humphrey, who is only a few weeks old, to Phoebe, who's laying down in the barn. She's 17 years old. She's our oldest alpaca here. And their life expectancy is around 20 years. So she gets to just live the good life here and eat as much grain as she'd like. And so these are our girls. Maybe Dixie here will lay down. She likes to do that. You see all the dust coming off her. Alpacas come in 23 different colors. Unfortunately, purple is not one of them. but they do come in lots of other different colors. Most of our girls, they look kind of orange. They're actually supposed to be white or cream colored. We call that North Carolina orange because they take dust baths in the clay dirt, which does stain them orange. You know, but their fiber gets washed when we process it. They get sheared once a year. They just had their last shearing in May, so they're starting to get their really fuzzy look back for winter. As you can see from her mutton chops right there, she's starting to get a lot of it back. As they're on the alert from the dog at the fence. But as you can see, Alice there, she actually resembles a camel a little bit in her face. But she is the alpha of the female herd, and she does protect against the dogs if they come in here. So they aren't completely helpless. They aren't as aggressive as a llama is, but they also are able to defend themselves a bit against predators. We also have Vanilla, our livestock guardian dog, roaming around the property, who also helps keep the alpacas and the chickens safe from predators that may try to harm them. Oh, sweetie, you're a good girl. So Darla over there is taking a dust bath. They like to do that to keep clean themselves and, you know, take care of anything that's like on them, any itchies they may have. They actually do that when they're in labor too. That's one of their signs of labor. They will just roll all around trying to get the baby in position before they have it, which is quite a sight to see because she was very, very pregnant doing that. So yeah, they like to do that frequently. That's how they turn orange here. So some of the fibers that we produce here on the farm, we shear our girls in May, and we send their fiber off to a fiber mill, and we get it back in different types of yarn. This is our most popular selection right here. These are our hand dyed. We hand dye them here on the farm. We can also do custom colors if you send us a palette that you're interested in. This one is alpaca fiber with silk and cashmere. And I don't know if you can't tell from looking at it, but you can squish it and it is super soft. This color pattern is called confetti. We have a lot of other different ones that are really pretty. This one right here is called Smoky Rose. And we generally have one or two of each of these colorways for any projects you're looking to do. We also do sit and stitch here every other week or so, either daytime hours or in the evening on a Friday, where it's totally free and you can come out and sit in our pavilion in our boys' pasture and hang out and knit and crochet and just talk to other people doing the same thing and share what you're working on. We also are planning a German Christmas market in December, on December 11th, so we hope to come and see us. So thank you so much for coming out and visiting with us today, and we were so happy to have you. We have a discount code for Aging Well. It's Aging Well, one word, and if you put it on our website or mention it when you call, you get 10% off private events on items from the shop. Thank you very much.
I will tell you, it was a blast getting to go out there and play with the alpacas, and the little baby was just so friendly, surprisingly friendly. I did take a colleague with me who's on our team. Audrey Belfero went out with me, and she was not quite as ready to jump in the middle of the pack of alpacas as me, but she came around and came over and met them, and I think we turned her into a believer. I think she's an alpaca lover now. So we're going into the holidays, and that means parties, and hopefully we're going to get to have some safe parties, but certainly more opportunities to eat some fun foods. And, you know, we want to think about being mindful about what we eat, because we certainly want to enjoy food. That's part of life. But how can we be mindful about what we're eating and still eat well? Because eating healthy does not mean boring. So I am so thrilled to introduce a colleague of ours, Dr. Mina Noran. She is with our Alzheimer's Research Disease Center, and she is going to be sharing all that we need to know to eat well and eat healthy as these holidays are coming up. So Mina?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Deb, for the great introduction. It's my real honor to be here this evening. As Deb mentioned, today we are going to talk about we are what we eat. So let me share. Okay. All right. So eating is enjoy of life. We all like to eat. Let me see if I have shared a right screen with you. Is it right, Deb?
It appears that your second slide is up, the white one with just the black type on it.
Okay, so that's right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So eating is enjoy of life. We all like to eat. And food is an important part in most of our ceremonies and in all gatherings when we are getting with our friends, family. Food plays an important part of it. In all the ceremonies, like the Thanksgiving, when you hear about it, the first thing that comes in your mind is the food. So it's important to know that what to eat and how much to stay healthy. There are lots of advertisements about the food. One time you hear that food butter is back, the other time, no, it's not back. And there are lots of diets that they are claiming that they are healthy diets. Some of them they are, but it's really hard in order to see that which one is right. I like that. I hope at the end of this talk, you have better impression about how much and what to eat in order to stay healthy. I wanted to take you to about 20 years ago. See how food portion sizes have changed. Let's take a couple of seconds and look at this picture. You see, most of the food sizes are doubled, and some of them, like the chocolate chips cookies, even more. One of the things that is important is about mindful eating. So you do not need to finish everything that's on the plate, and we can have just half of it and keep some for later. We all know that there is correlation between the food and health. 60% of adults have one or more diet-related chronic conditions. So it's really important in order to prevent it and our goal is to improve our overall health to prevent chronic diseases. And it's important right now with the COVID, as you know that people who have chronic condition, they are at increased risk for the severe illnesses. Overweight and obesity. Overweight means that we are carrying more fat that is considered normal. And obesity, it's even much more than this, that we measure it with BMI. BMI over 30 considers as an obesity. About 75% of adults are overweight or obese here in the United States. And this number is 40% for children and adolescents. Cardiovascular disease, it's the leading cause of death here in the United States. And its risk factors like high blood pressure and high cholesterol, they are all modifiable with diet. I had high cholesterol about 20 years ago, and it runs in my family. My parents, my sister, they all have high cholesterol. But I manage it with my diet and exercise. So that's true that gene is important, but we still can manage it with the diet and lifestyle. Diabetes, about 11% of Americans have type 1 or type 2 diabetes. And 90% of adults that have diabetes are overweight or obese. About 35% of people are pre-diabetic. That all of these we can manage with the diet. Some cancers, like breast cancer and colorectal cancer, they are related with our diet. And bone health, like osteoporosis and muscle strength, they are all the things that we can modify with healthy diet. Most of Americans are not following healthy diet. This picture shows that measures quality of diet from 0 to 10 to 100. Close to 100, it's the healthiest diet. As you see, people over age 60 have the highest number. It's 63. We still have more room to improve. And the least number is for teenage age, and it's 51. So what can we do? USDA, they created this My Plate, and My Plate help us in order to figure out how should our plate looks like in order to have a balanced food. Half of our plate should be some sorts of fruit and vegetable, mostly vegetables. And it's important to have a variety of fruit and vegetables. A quarter of our plate is grains, and a quarter is protein, and dairy is on the side too. It's only a guide, and it doesn't mean that all the foods that we are eating should have all of these together. It's good to have it at the back of your mind, just to have at least 3 of them each time at your meal in order to make it balanced, and have the others and other times throughout the day. I'm going to briefly describe each of these groups. For the fruit, we consider all the fresh, frozen, canned, dried, and 100% fruit juice. But we don't want you to have more than half of your fruit as a fruit juice. It's better to have more as a whole fruit. And be careful of the canned. Sometimes they are in the syrup and they added more sugar to your diet. And for dried fruit, the same. Be careful, check the ingredients that they have less sugar or no sugar. The vegetables, the same. You can have fresh, frozen, and canned. For the can, we need to be careful. They usually have lots of salt. And if you wanted to use can, be careful to choose the ones that they have low salt, or drain and rinse it and then use it. There are several subgroups in the vegetables, and it's important to have variety of vegetables in your plate, like dark greens, spinach, red and orange, like carrots, starchy, corn, beans, peas, and lentils. They have lots of protein and very good. And other vegetables like spinach, like squash, eggplant. For the grains, it's, as you remember, a quarter of our plate is a grain. And it's better to half of your grain to be as a whole grain. Whole grain, it's like brown rice, whole grain bread, whole grain pasta, oatmeal, quinoa. These are all whole grain. And some cereals, if you check the label, if it has this yellow label on top of it, this logo, it shows that it's whole grain. Consider to have about half of your grains as a whole grain. Protein foods, it can be animal source or plant source. For the animal source, we wanted you to be careful in order to choose lean or low fat. For example, if you wanted to choose the ground beef, try to buy the ones that they are more than 90% lean. The other source, for example, for the chicken, take it without skin. And fish, eggs, these are all good source of the animal proteins. And for the plant-based proteins, like all kind of legumes, beans, and soy, seeds and nuts. These are all good source of proteins. About the dairy products, milk, cheese, yogurt, always consider low fat or non-fat in order to limit the saturated fat. And the fortified soy milk and yogurt, these are all in this category. We do not consider the cream cheese or sour cream or butter in this group because they have less calcium and they have more fat. Now that we know about this, it's good in order to consider how much from each group we need to have. USDA made a great program. It's My Plate Plan. You can Google My Plate Plan, and just you need to enter your age, sex, height, weight, and physical activity, and it calculates for you that how much from each group you need. I take you step by step just to know that this is free, so you do not need any subscription and you can do it, and even you don't need to count any calorie. Isn't it neat? That's so good. So when I entered this start, I entered it for myself, and you see that it calculated for me based on 1800 calories to maintain my weight. For people who are overweight, it there is another tab on top of it, and it shows that if you want to lose weight, that would be your total calorie need. So you can choose which one you want. And then if you click on 1800 calorie, it takes you to the next page. This is small, I know, just I wanted to show you in order to scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on the red tab that's download the PDF. When you click it, it brings you to this beautiful picture. And here you can see your My Plate plan. This shows you that how much I need to eat from each category. For example, my fruit, it's 1.5 cup, 2.5 cup vegetable, and the grain 6 ounce, all of this. And the beautiful of this graph is at the corner left, you see that it shows me how much sugar and how much saturated fat and salt can I have throughout the day. And that's based on the guideline that we need to limit our sugar and saturated fat to less than 10%. And on the next page, you will see this beautiful handout that you can customize it for yourself. Okay, for example, I'm going to have these fruits, these vegetables, but keep in mind, try different variety from each group. Consider that this is for healthy people. If you have certain condition or if you are taking some medication, you need to talk with your doctor before using this. So it's good to see where are we now. As you saw, our quality of food for over age 60 is 63. And if you look for each food group, the purple dots, they are the average intake, and the blue is recommended intake. And you see for fruit, vegetables, and dairy, we are eating much lower, and we need to increase. For the grain, it's almost the same as amount that is recommended, but if you look in the grains, most of it is from refined grain, not whole grain. So that's another thing that we need to improve. And for the protein intake, for men are better, for women are a little bit lower. That's another thing that we need to eat more protein. And for the fish, we are eating lower amount of fish in our diet. And here, that's a great picture. You see that overall, at the corner on the left is the sugar intake, and the orange shows that how much percent we are exceeding the sugar. More than half of people are eating more sugar than recommended. And where is sugar coming from? Mostly from the beverages, and then from desserts. The same for saturated fat, we are eating about 80%, and most of it comes from sandwiches. And for sodium, for men, almost all of men are taking more salt compared to women. And again, it's coming mostly from the sandwiches that we need to be careful. Not just, I wanted to show you how we can change our plate in order to make it healthier. You can see in these burrito bowls, on the left is the typical, and on the right, it changes. So changing a little bit, for example, white rice to the brown rice helps in order to increase whole grain, or for example, taking out the sour cream, using grilled vegetables in the burrito bowl. increases the nutritious of your plate and reducing the total calorie by about 35%. Now, what are the tips for holiday eating? First of all, don't skip any meal. This is something happens for me, but if you skip, you are going to overeat. And it's important not skipping any meal. And before taking your food, first scan the table and try to make a colorful and healthy dish. Keep in mind your my plate. Ask yourself, where is my protein, my vegetables, and try to include them in your plate. And don't go to refill your plate again. Try to eat mindfully, eat slowly and enjoy your food, and don't feel that, oh, I'm done and I can't eat anymore. And just consider that it's not happening all the time. It's just certain occasions. And if you are going to eat some things like cake, and enjoy it, don't feel guilty. If it's happening every day, most of days, for some reason, that's the problem. But once in a time, that's absolutely fine. Enjoy the time. Choose the drinks wisely. Be careful of the sugar in the sweet in your drinks, and be careful of your alcohol. We recommend if someone not drinking alcohol, you do not need to start. But if you are taking, for men, limiting to 2 drinks per day, and for women, 1 drink per day. And a drink is about 12-ounce beer or 5 fluid ounces of wine. And just consider that these ceremonies, it's not just about eating. Just go out and socialize with people and playing games. That would be the thing it's good to keep in mind. And if you are interested, I'm currently working in order to see that what kind of diet improves our memory. And we are comparing Mediterranean low-carb diet with American Heart Association low-fat diet. If you are interested, you can call this number 336-716-MIND. This is BTAD study. Are you ready to make a change? Let's do something today. Don't wait for the perfect time. And none of us are perfect, and we do not need to be perfect. Just see one simple shift to your diet. That's really meaningful in the long term. The reason that most of diets are not successful is because they are just for a short period of time. And then we are back to our own diet. And yes, we really are what we eat, unless we make a change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mina. This was great. And I've had a first question wanting to know, would this be a good time to think about trying to eat mindfully going into the holidays, knowing there's going to be a lot of temptation? Would you still try to go ahead and start eating well right now?
Yes, anytime. If you start, it's great. Just consider, we do not need to be perfect. Just simple change. If you have it consistently, you will see the results later in life. Just keep some small change, and that would be really important to see the results later. But definitely, yes.
Go ahead and start
tonight.
So another question is, going to a party, would it be good to partake of, say, fresh, like a fresh veggie tray before you start eating other things to let yourself kind of get filled up?
Yes, that's a great question. That's awesome because usually in the party, we like to eat some foods that they are not healthy. So having some fresh vegetables or fruit, taking with yourself. So you have something in order to eat and stay in your limit. And that's a great idea.
Well, I don't know that we have any more questions, but Dr. Mina, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank y'all so much for being here and being a part of November's Aging Well. I'm excited to let you know that, backed by popular demand, not request, but demand, we have Amy Knopfziger coming back in December. So many of you may have joined us for an earlier presentation. I believe it was maybe November, where she spoke. She is the National Director for AARP of Fraud Victim Support. So she is going to be sharing with us, again, ways to keep our identity safe going into the holidays and beyond. But next month is going to be another one that you are not going to want to miss. And I have it on good authority that one of our teammates, Courtney Hayes, is going to be leading us in a Zumba class. So I've heard that people love her classes, so I'm just tickled to death. So make a date. It's going to be December 14th. So please join us and we will see you then. Thank you.